with Garrett Cole, I'm looking at his teammate Max Fried, and I'm wondering, do I like Max Fried more than Garrett Cole this year? And I might, Eric,
Mm-hmm. I
because
have them. I have
yeah,
them in the same tier. I have Max Fried at the end of the tier. It's 3 spots below Garrett Cole. But again, we've talked about this a lot with tiers. It's kind of like, you know, uh, you pick your poison a little bit.
right.
So Max Fried right now is your number 11. We should say the tier that you have them in is Ace is going to ace. That tier started with number 7, Logan Gilbert, and number 8, Cole Reagans, number 9, Michael King, number 10, Garrett Cole. That includes number 11, Max Fried, and the number 12 pitcher we'll get to next. But why are you debating liking Max Fried more than Garrett Cole?
Because I feel that Max Fried is just such a good ratio pitcher. And he had a 23% strikeout rate last year. I think it should be better once the changeup gets back into form. It used to be back into form as a lefty with a changeup. Oh my gosh. But I don't know. It just all makes sense to me. And last year we saw Max Fried in a weird situation where he got hurt and came back midway. And if you don't know Max Fried, he's someone who needs about 3 starts to get back into rhythm. So beginning of the year, rough for 3 starts, and then an ace essentially, and then gets hurt, and then comes back. And what do you know? He needs 3 starts again, and then ramps back up. So if you remove that, there you go. Much better performance overall. Done. Easy. Max Fried's worst whip in 5 years was last season with a 116. That was also his worst ERA with a 325. And that's just not what we're going to see. I'm sorry. He's not going to have an 8% walk rate. This is Max Fried. He's so good commanding his fastballs with cut action on the four seamer, sinkers inside to lefties, big curveball, slider. It's that changeup that really puts him onto another level. And I think he's going to have that again against or with the Yankees against right-handers. He's just such a stable, amazing pitcher. And the way I see Garrett Cole versus him, Fried has more options, more ways to manipulate the ball and to get his outs, while Cole is reliant on that velocity, reliant on that
Mm-hmm.
slider. And it's why I'm so close on the two. Garrett Cole is still there at the moment. So that's why I have him one above, and there is more of a strikeout upside with Cole, obviously, to hit back at 26 or so and above, while it's more like 25 or so is what you're hoping for from Max Fried. Still, he's really good. And moving to New York is actually beneficial because the only negative for pitchers is the right field porch. But Fried doesn't allow fly balls. He's not a fly ball guy. He's a ground ball guy. So the fly balls that he does allow, that means that fewer of them would go out theoretically because you do have it benefiting him everywhere but right field. I'm a fan of this. I think that I think Fried is really going to soar in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously he's inside my top 15. I'm obviously high on him as well. The forearm is he's missed some time with it in the past, so I think it's knocked into the innings count, and like maybe it actually one time actually comes back to bite him. But again, we're not predicting injury in that sense. I don't think he's
So
any more injury prone than anybody else.
I do want to mention it was left forearm neuritis, which is not the tear, at least this past year
Right.
in 2024. So it wasn't a showcase of his form that made him miss time in 2023. This is not that, which means it's not a re-tear of the forearm or anything or the UCL. Okay,
Mhm.
so anytime it's not a tear, you should be really happy.
You feel happy anytime it's not a
Yeah.
tear. We feel happy. Yeah, and that's, I mean, obviously, if I was more concerned, I would not have him inside of my top 15. And again, he's moving from people are like, oh, Yankee Stadium. Well, Truist Park isn't exactly a pitcher friendly park either. So I'm not really worried about the change in park for him as well.
Yeah, man, am
Um,
I? Whew, I'm seeing it now. Like I'm so high on Max Fried relative to everybody, and
you are,
oh
but
man,
but I'm not.
maybe the
I'm
K
only a
rate is
few
the thing
spots
that it
behind
might
you.
be
So
sending me off, but or being different. But the thing is, honestly, I see a 325 ERA. I'm like, no, he's gonna be like a 3 underneath that, and it's like, man, no one else does this. So, oh boy, we'll see.
oh man, what are we gonna
Oh,
do?
what are we gonna?
Well, who rounds out this tier? Who rounds out this ace is gonna ace tier? Your number 12 starting pitcher.
Well, okay, so now I'm like, everybody, hey, I understand George Kirby. All right, I've been pretty down on him because George Kirby to me, like what is his best thing? Okay, righties, 20% swing strike rate. That's cool, but it's also first percentile called strike rate. because they swing so much.
Mhm.
They swing so much at this fastball. 62%. It's the highest swing rate on a four seamer, and they have 43% ICR on it. Right? Guys are fastball hunting against him. He throws a 30% of the time. He did incorporate a sinker, which I think helped plenty. 35% usage against righties and 31% ICR. He doesn't get it inside enough, if you ask me. He still kind of keeps it a little bit too much in the middle because he has to throw strikes all the time. And that's why you still have that damage against four seamers. If you have the sinker utilized more than the four seamer, right? You should have a better result on the fastball than the four seamer. And you're not seeing that quite yet, which is a little annoying. The slider to me also, I want to believe that George Kirby is this guy that can put the ball anywhere he wants. But
Mhm.
dang, 14% swing strike rate
Hot
on a
dang.
slider? Like, that can't be it. Something's got to change there because that's just not good enough. If we really want George Kirby to be this stud pitcher, that's 23% K rate last year, the 3.53 ERA, which I think is deserved because he's not a hit suppressor. He is
Mhm.
good at not throwing walks at 3% rate, but if you're allowing hits in the same rate, you're going to have a worse ERA because instead of a walk, which is no one advances an extra than one, you're going to have those as hits, which are going to allow the guy on second to score, which is why you have a 71 and a 72% left on base rate, right? It's not great in this way. And I wish there was something I can point to be like, that is the filth. That is the thing that is going to just save his entire arsenal. And it's not quite there. And it's driving me up the wall. I want to see it badly. You might think, hey, the splitter showed up. He's got this new splitter. That's really cool. 55% strike rate, 43% ICR. He
Yeah.
threw in two strike counts. He threw 38% of the time that George Kirby threw a splitter, it was in a two strike count. And guess what? 14% put away rate. No, it was not working against lefties. Not it. Meanwhile, the sinker, not good at all, but the four seamer works really well against lefties. So fine. I guess that's okay. This is a ramble because I'm just like, you're fine, George Kirby. And
Right.
at least with like Max Fried and Cole, I can see the 25% K rate. I can see the hit suppression as
Sure.
well. But with Kirby, especially when you're not in T-Mobile Park, it gets worse. And I want to believe that it'll get better, but I don't know. He's not like an extension guy. It's 6.5. It's a relatively steep vertical approach angle. It's not a good fastball. IVB is 15, and that's not good. 96 miles per hour. That's the good part. It's because he locates it. So how far can you get on that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It it's yes. It is the same. It's interesting. It is the relative safe consistency that we saw get like Logan Gilbert ranked 11th or 12th overall last year, because you're like, you're going to get innings and you're not going to get a lot of strikeouts, but you're going to get great ratios. And sorry, Logan Webb, and Logan Webb wound up like the 30th ranked starter. That's
Right.
not going to say that George Kirby is going to do that, but yeah, if we have a guy where like the volume of 190 plus innings with elite ratios is going to carry him, and then you see that like, oh, well, there was a little regression in the ratios last year, and well, maybe he doesn't develop the way that we thought he would, and then you're kind of like, okay, maybe you are looking at the 15th ranked starter. That's
Right.
something that I'm going to need to consider because I have him currently ranked 10th. And you are making me think that
Yeah,
maybe that
I'm
is
making
too high.
myself like the problem is that after this, I have all my fun, like, who knows? It could be this guy kind of
Yeah.
guys. And do I want to put George Kirby ahead of that or behind that?
Let's talk about your starting pitcher, number 13. I want to point something out to you before we get into this. And I understand that the injury risks that come with this pitcher mean that you can place him on the IL, you can pick up another player. He's going to be on the mound when he's healthy. That's something that you have talked about a lot. I will just say last year, this starting pitcher threw for a career high in innings. He was on the World Series champion. So career high innings in the best team context you could possibly get. He finished the season as the 20th ranked starting pitcher, according to Fangraphs Player Rater. Obviously, you can pick up somebody when they go on the IL and use them in your spot. but this player's peak year was basically 20th ranked starting pitcher. You have Tyler Glasnow as your 13th ranked starting pitcher.
I mean, okay, so peak year is interesting. It's 120 innings and then 134 the last 2 years from Tyler Glasnow. You can also say that, hey, at 349 ERA is not necessarily the peak that we think for Tyler Glasnow as well, moving forward. He also got absurdly unlucky when it came to wins. I mean, it was ridiculous. He had 9 wins, 9-6 record. If you had Tyler Glasnow, there was a time I think it was like 1 win in like a month or so, something like that. And as we all know with Player Rater, it's all about wins. Having
Yes,
9
true.
wins, and that was 11 or so. He wouldn't be 20th. He'd be maybe 14th, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I don't. That sounds great. He's told me it was the 20th, and then I also get someone to replace him. That's amazing
That's
for a
true.
third of the season. A third, because it's 22 starts for Tyler Glasnow, which means that okay, at 11 it's 33. There you go. That's so much
Yeah.
production that you get. Yeah, to me, it's all about where he is in the spring. I'm probably going to push him up to 7 if he's good to go in the spring. That's just what I'm going to do and put him into the studs category. I have the same exact argument that I had with Jacob deGrom. Just be like, guys, you're going to want this. And
Yeah.
then when he gets hurt, you replace it. And like, just be happy you get that. Because everyone else that we're talking about right now, I can't sit here and guarantee you that you're getting an SP1. I can't. I can tell you that you are getting one from Tyler Glasnow when he pitches.
Yeah,
And
I've reached the
I'm all
point
for that.
where it's like you have that friend who continuously does things that make you apologize to other people for him, and you keep finding a way to like defend, well, he's going through this, or well,
Yep.
he's, and I just, the amount of times that I've been like, listen, I know he hasn't thrown a lot of innings, but this, and this year he's like, well, I'm working on my mechanics to, to fix my levers and make sure, because that's what's causing a lot of these back issues, which are causing the arm issues. And it's just like, I just don't know that I can keep defending the excuse for him. That being said, I have him 24th right now. That being said, if he comes to spring and looks healthy and looks like, okay, he ended the year hurt, didn't have any sort of surgery or anything like that to fix the issue. So I'm not 100% convinced the issue is fixed. If he looks like the version of Tyler Glasnow we're used to seeing in the spring, I could see myself bumping him up in the Max Fried range, which for me is like 12, 13, 14, where I'm going to get really solid production when he's on the mound. I almost trust Max Fried to be on the mound more than Glasnow. And so I
Oh,
know
sure.
that Glasnow will have more production, but I think I would just rather take the guy who will be on the mound for more innings and know that I don't even have to worry about playing with the waiver wire when I put
Mhm.
Glasnow on the IL. But that would be where I'm seeing him right now for me.
So, I mean, you want to draft like Merrill Kelly then? Or just kidding.
No.
I'm joking. That's a
Yeah.
joke just about how many innings and
And
stuff. But no, I mean, I totally get it completely. And I think anyone that sits here and tells you exactly what the right thing is to do is just they don't know.
right.
It's kind of like with Spencer Strider. I was thinking, man, where should I put this guy? Because, right, do I want the innings of the guys who are in my 20s over this? Or do I want to say, hey, look, I get that open roster spot for the first month or so. And then, which is the most valuable time to have a roster spot. And then I get a stud pitcher the rest of the way. But we've talked about this before, where we don't know what we're getting when we come
Right.
back from it. We haven't seen the stud stuff of like Jacob deGrom or so. So yeah, this one's going to change. I'm pretty sure by the time March 23rd rolls around or whatever it is, because either Glasnow's going to be healthy and going, or he's going to be delayed in some way. If he's delayed in some way, then I'm going to not favor it because I don't feel comfortable knowing when that
Mhm.
delay will be over. But yeah, it's good luck, everyone. Uh, it's
Yes. Good
I
luck.
mean, look, you win. You come in first, you come in last. What is it? Your first or your last? There it is.
Your first, your
That's it.
last. Yeah. Ricky
Yeah.
Bobby. Um, I'd say this is the first one that really kind of shocked me. Your 14th ranked starting pitcher. I have him. Let's see, where do I have him? I have him 20th, but you're still, and I thought that was high.
Hmm.
You have Shota Imanaga 14th.
Yeah.
This is your tier of cherry bombs, so still not aces, I guess. But why so high on Imanaga coming off what was a really impressive debut season?
Oh, Shota Imanaga. I what I didn't realize, is that the sweeper was actually way more effective against lefties, than I thought it was. I thought it was really just four-seamer splitter still, and then the sweeper didn't really
Mhm.
do much. No, the sweeper was very effective, and then the four-seamer is this super valuable strike pitch. It's not a whiff one, but it's constantly in the zone, and guys just can't figure this one out. And it was like that the entire year. And I also initially thought that I was going to say, okay, he had this amazing run at the beginning of the year that really led to that 291 ERA and a 102 whip. But then even after that, like, what was it, 100 run in the first like 6, 7 starts, he was
Yeah,
still very good. It was
that's
still
true.
productive the rest of the way. And he had really just 2 games. It was 2 games that were just the worst things ever for Imanaga, and it ruined, the overall line. But even with these 2 games, I believe were like something ridiculous. I can't remember exactly what it was. But it was like 8 runs and 10 runs. It was like the regression hitting all of a sudden. 10 runs against the Mets on the 21st is the one I'm thinking of, and the 7 against the Brewers on the 29th. He still had a 291 ERA because he was just that good. And there is some fear that I have of second year for Japanese pitchers. We've seen this before, where they go through the first year and they endure that heavier workload for the first time, and they really see the ramifications of that the
Mhm.
next year through injury. Everyone gets injured. I'm kind of throwing that one out the window at this point. Um, I just see a consistent arm who's better than Joe Ryan because he has a better set of secondaries to help. Even though the four seamer isn't this whiff pitch with Imanaga, we kind of treat it the same of like, cool, four seamer with a splitter and a slider, right? And you'll see more right handers to take advantage of that splitter than left handers. It just works. So yeah, Imanaga I think is just a stable guy that surprisingly has better than like a 23% K rate. It's like
Yeah.
25% with a good ERA and ratios, and it's like, or ERA and whip. Let's go
I
for it. Here.
I have him in a high-end SP2 tier, and the tier above it is these fringe aces of like Pablo Lopez, Dylan Cease, etc. And it might make sense to move Imanaga up to there, but
He has
we'll have to see.
97th percentile swing strike rate.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, no, everything you're saying makes total sense to me. I'm also you converted me on your number 15th ranked starter. Last year, you and Eno talked about Mr. Joe Ryan.
Mm,
I have Joe Ryan up at 19th this year, one spot ahead of Imanaga. Um, I'm into Ryan. I know he had the shoulder strain at the end of last year, but he's already throwing bullpens and back to full health. So I think we should feel good that he's coming into the year
yeah,
healthy. Um, he tweaked a lot of his pitch mix last year. He changed the shape of the splitter. He leaned more into the sweeper. I still think, as you've mentioned a lot of times with him, the consistency of his secondaries is still not where we'd like it to be. But now he has a deeper arsenal that there's usually something that's working with the fastball. Um, and I think if those secondaries got more consistent, you're talking about a top 15 starter, which you have him ranked as. I have him just outside, baking in the like risk that they don't actually get more consistent.
right. Um, so this is really, it's just been so hard trying to figure out what to do with this top 20 because I don't want to make a statement on Joe Ryan. I don't want to make a statement on Imanaga. I guess I'm making a statement on like Blake Snell and Dylan Cease, you guys haven't
I
heard
think
yet.
I think that's more of what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about them in the next episode, but so stay tuned for that one. That's just my own personal bias, and honestly, as I've been thinking more and more about it, I might be moving Cease up. Maybe we'll see. We'll get there. But with Joe Ryan, he's someone that it's a home run problem, right? 1.27 home run per nine last year, but it was 178 the year before, 122 before that. He allows home runs. Why? Because he has this four seamer that is really hard to get on top of because it's a 1.8 height adjusted VA. It's one of the flattest fastballs in the majors and not the flattest.
Hmm.
And when guys are actually able to get that timing right, they're able to launch it because he throws it upstairs. And really finding the nullifier is the difficult part. Is he going to have a cutter in here? Is it a splitter? Is it a sweeper? What is it? What's interesting is he actually has the Nick Pivetta problem. And I hope that he's aware of it. That he throws a sweeper with his four seamer And the reason you don't want to do that generally is because a four seamer you want to get on top of more and a sweeper you want to get lower
Right.
arm angle with. And what I did notice is that he has reverse splits on his four seamer. He might not have it the same way as Pavetta because Pavetta is much more over the top that Joe Ryan is. Joe Ryan has a much flatter arm release, and that's why you have that high adjusted VAA. Still, I do wonder if batters are getting a good read on the sweeper relative to his four seamer, and because of that, they are attacking the four seamer a lot better than lefties who don't see the sweeper; they see more of the splitter. So that is something I think that can be adjusted for Joe Ryan. I really wish he had something better as his number two, but man, it's such a consistent four seamer that he just is able to throw in the zone and limit walks. He's not a walk prone guy. 4% walk
Mhm.
rate last year, and he doesn't allow hits. Normally what you see like with George Kirby is that you see that low walk per nine. Sorry, that low walk rate with a higher hit per nine because you have to make a
Right.
sacrifice somewhere. But Joe Ryan has a 7 hit per nine. He had a 7 hit per nine in 2022. The only bad one was 2023. And he gets progressively better with his fastball each year. It's more velocity as well. So I see Joe Ryan, and I see someone that if he wasn't injured at the end of the year, which seems like it's fine and we don't need to think about that anymore, then he would actually have had an initial ADP much higher than what we're seeing. And what's so funny to me is like I'm actually looking at this in the corner of my eye right now. Like Max Fried, Glasnow, and Joe Ryan are like outside the top 20, and I'm like everyone's just thinking, Nick, what are you doing? You're talking about these guys in the top 15 that are outside top 25 of ADP. And I think Joe Ryan's a strikeout machine,
Right.
who is primed for 180 innings this year. Um, I think that there's one last piece of the puzzle for him to really become like a top 5 starter. And he's showcased every single season that he's getting better and better. You have a K minus walk rate that's 23%. It's like one of the best K minus walk rates, save for like the studs at the very top.
Right.
It's 27 K rate, 4% walk rate. Like we talk about all these things, projections. That is the most stable correlation year to year for success. Is K minus walk rate. We just can't beat it. And I don't know. I just think that Joe Ryan, that's such a good foundation that he should still be very, very productive with a good strikeout rate next year.